Welcome to the Uncensored Self podcast. I am your host, Ryann Gillen, and this is a space where women who value achievement, success, accomplishment, and wealth, but also crave happiness, love, joy, and deep fulfillment come to remember that we get to have both. Not by doing more, but by being more of who we truly are. In this show, we explore identity, energy, alignment, and embodiment because you didn't come here to follow someone else's rules. You came to right your own. Let's dive in. Well, welcome back to the Uncensored Self. I am your host, Ryann Gillen, and today I'm going to answer a question that has probably been rolling around in your brain for longer than you want to admit. And the question is, why didn't the money make me happy? Why didn't the money make you happy? If you make over $100,000 a year, I just want to tell you this, if you make over $100,000 a year, you are in the top 8 to 10%, depending on where you get your data, 8 to 10% of wage earners of women in America. I don't like the word earner, you know that about me, but according to the data, that's what it says. If you make over $200,000 a year, you are in the top 3% of women and also the top, I think it was like 8% of earners across the board. So you are a well-resourced human, according to the number maybe on your W-2, your tax returns, your P&L, I don't know what it is. But what you discovered is that no matter how much money you have made, you are not happy or fulfilled. You do not love your life. It did not create what you intended it to create, maybe what you thought it would create. And so today I'm going to break down a couple of different reasons as to why that happens, so that you can find peace and so that you can find happiness and joy. But the first thing I want to tell you is the reason that the money didn't create or didn't make you happy is because that is not money's job. Happiness is a choice. And that's going to trigger somebody and it's going to piss somebody off. But choosing to be a happy person is a choice that you make. It is not a set of circumstances. In fact, as always, I went to Google and I said, tell me what happiness is. And according to our friends at Google, happiness is an emotional state of joy, contentment, and fulfillment combined with a deep sense that your life is meaningful and good. It is not a constant state of excitement, but rather an overall balance of positive emotions and life satisfaction. Happiness is an emotional state of joy, contentment, and fulfillment. And who is responsible for creating our emotional state? We are. We are responsible for our emotional state. So the idea that money was ever going to be the thing that made us happy was actually a lie to fucking begin with. It never had a fucking chance, right? That's not money's job. And the emotional state of joy and contentment and fulfillment is something that you cultivate inside of you by managing your mind. By learning to deliberately think on purpose. This, guys, where the identity practice comes in. I don't plan where I'm going to drop this in every single episode, but it just comes out. Learning to think on purpose. You are responsible for creating your own feelings of joy and fulfillment and contentment. And so letting money, something as finicky as money, be responsible for your emotions was always a risky bet because that's not its job. That's not its job. And again, I know that the world taught you this. I know this all the time where they always say like, money doesn't buy happiness. And again, this comes from a very, you're going to feel when you think this thought, you probably feel very privileged because there's a lot of people in the world that if you told them you made $250,000 a year and you weren't happy, they would be mad and mean and angry and hateful. I have been in some comment threads on the internet, right? Most people don't have a lot of sympathy for people who make a lot of money who aren't happy. They're like, poor you. And I know that's probably why you don't often admit that you're not happy because you know that the rest of the world would tell you that you were fucking insane. And if they had that amount of money, goddammit, they would be happy. And so you have all of the shame around it, right? You have all of the shame around the amount of money that you make. You have the shame around the fact that you're not happy with the amount of money that you make. And so you have given money an impossible job that is not money's. So the number one reason why the money didn't make you happy is because that's not money's fucking job. You are responsible for your emotional state. You are responsible for your own emotions and you are responsible for your own thoughts. And what's really exciting about this is that is the only thing in life that you ever actually have any control over. I know I say this every single fucking week, but I mean it with every ounce of my being. The only thing that you ever can impact, change in the world directly is your thoughts. And in turn, your feelings, right? Because your thoughts are what are creating the feelings. When you think, oh my God, I make so much money and I'm so unhappy. What the fuck is wrong with me? This is terrible. I'm a jerk. How am I going to be so insensitive? How did this happen? Oh, but there's people who have so much less than me and blah, 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 blah. Do you hear those thoughts? Those thoughts don't create joy and contentment and fulfillment. So continuing to entertain thoughts that don't create happiness is the problem, not the money. It's not money's job to make you happy. It is your job to cultivate happiness in the way that you think. That's it. I could stop there, but I won't because I'm only 5 minutes in and I have some other things on my list. I have some other things about why the money didn't make you happy. Most of you are performing for the money. What I mean by performing for the money, I mean that you are doing something you do not love, something that is not the fullest expression of yourself, something that does not fill your soul, does not fill your cup, does not light you up in any way, shape, or form. And that is why the money didn't make you happy, because the things that you have to do to earn the money are completely against who you are at your core. This happens to a lot of people who chose career paths just because they make a lot of money, that chose career paths out of desperation, chose career paths because their parents said that they should do it, right? A lot of people who just chose career paths because of a skill, or maybe they were good at it, or somebody else said they were good at it, often leads to people who make a lot of money but aren't happy because they're not doing something that they enjoy. And I want to tell you a story about this specifically. Maybe it's not this specific thing, but I want to tell this to you. So when I first started my business, I joined a coaching program called the Unstoppable Entrepreneur. And this program taught you literally how to live launch. And a live launch, if you don't know what that means, is a 9-day event that you have on the internet that is designed to sell for me, it was a coaching program, right? So this live launch method was about showing up live on camera to connect with my audience. And I was doing this in like 2020, 2021, when like Facebook Live was a thing and Facebook groups were huge. And I would go live and I had a Facebook group of 7,000 people and I would talk, I would teach, and I would talk and I would pitch my program. And I made $1 million, actually probably a couple $1 million using that particular strategy. Well, I actually wound up coaching inside of that program. My mentor at the time, she wanted to becoming my business partner, but my mentor at the time, I was like, I wanted to be closer. I wanted proximity. I wanted more access. So I offered to coach inside of her program, and I coached inside of her program for free. But one of the things that would blow my mind is I was run these calls and people would get on these calls, and I was teaching sales at the time, and they would tell me that they hated live video. Like, I just really hate live. I'm so uncomfortable on live video. And I was like, so you bought a program that teaches you how to use live video to sell your products and services, and you hate live video. How the fuck is that going to work out for you? It doesn't make any sense. But people did it over and over again. They would tell me, I hate it, but I'm willing to do this thing that I hate because I want the money so badly, or I want my business to be successful so badly. And the problem with this approach is that this is often encouraged to go do the thing that you hate doing in order to make money, even if it's a career or job that you fucking hate, or, whatever that looks like for you. We are often taught that you don't always get to choose. And sometimes you have to do terrible, horrible things that you hate doing in order to make money. But universal law doesn't work that way, right? That's a flawed premise. Because you cannot have an unhappy journey to a happy place. So how am I going to go to work every day, or run a business every day, or execute on a marketing strategy every single day that I fucking hate, and somehow think that the fruits of that labor would make me happy? And that's what I mean by performing. Whenever you put on a face, put on a mask, pretend to be somebody that you are not, right? In order to exchange funds in some way, you are performing to make money. And that's not going to make you happy, because your soul's calling, if you will, right? I know that sounds cheesy and cliche, is to be fully expressed. You are the happiest when you are the most authentic version of you. And quite frankly, my friend, you don't know who the fuck the most authentic version of you is. And so that is why no matter how much money you make, A, it never feels like enough, and B, it never makes you happy, because you have to become somebody that you're not. And then there's this weird distrust with yourself. There's self-abandonment. There's all of the other things that go into that. So if you are performing, if you are pretending in some way, shape, or form, and that's what you're doing in order to make money or to call in money or create money in your life, that is why it is not making you happy, because having to be somebody that you're not is crushing your soul. And so at this point, your logical brain may be thinking, I have to do this job in order to make money, but your soul is like, I fucking hate it here. And that's where the dissatisfaction is coming from. So not only, one, did we give money a job it never had, because happiness is my job, but two, we're also doing things that we do not like, that are not always in our strengths, in order to create it. And so again, how can we expect that thing to make us happy? Right? The third reason why money doesn't make you happy, the money didn't make you happy, no matter how much money you make, it doesn't make you happy, is because you still are coming from this lack-based place, right? I talk to women often who are literally making multiple 6, 7 figures, and they still feel broke all of the time. And it is very hard to be happy when you are in this survival broke energy. And this has nothing to do with your bank account balance. I want to be really fucking clear, because again, I find that this is more prominent in people who make a lot of money, because there is the shame of making a lot of money and not feeling good with it, or feeling like it's not enough, or feeling like you haven't done anything good with it, or you're not a good steward of the money, or whatever that looks like and feels like for you. But what winds up happening in this place is you're making money. You're making, again, you're a top 10%, top 3% wage earner as a woman. Like you are a top tier leader and you still feel broke. You still feel like there's something wrong with you. Like there's something that you're missing, that you need to make more. And again, where does this come from? This comes from you chasing something outside of you to make you happy. So your not enoughness is because I'm chasing money, this thing that was never meant to make me happy. And now I'm chasing it. And now I have it and it doesn't make me happy. And I'm still unhappy. And now I'm an ungrateful asshole because I'm unhappy and I still fucking feel like I don't have any money. How wild is that? Why does this happen? And what do we do about it? The first thing that I need you to realize is the reason why is because if anything outside of you is responsible for your happiness, whether it is the money, whether it is your husband, whether it is the business, whether it is your children, this trips women up a lot. It is nobody and nothing's job outside of you to make you happy. So you can make as much money as you want. You can change jobs as often as you want to. You can buy as many cars or handbags or houses or go on as many vacations as possible. But if you are not taking care of you, if you are not locked in on you, if you are not chasing or creating something, dude, did you hear that? I said chasing, creating something that is meaningful in your life, you are not going to be happy. You might live a very comfortable life. And I think that trips women up a lot too. Like your life is comfortable because you have a lot of conveniences because you're well resourced, right? But being comfortable and being happy are two different things. So where do you start? That's probably the question you have. Where do you start? And as always, I'm going to tell you the same thing I always tell you, right? Identity and energy. Identity first, who you believe yourself to be. So if you believe yourself to be somebody who has to do things you don't want to do in order to make money, that's the problem. Right? So who is the version of you who is the happiest? How does she move through the world? How does she think? How does she feel? How does she act? The happiest version of you isn't waiting for the bank balance to tell you you're okay. The happiest version of you isn't doing something that you hate. The happiest version of you isn't constantly chasing external validation to do enough. So we have got to change your identity first. This goes back to the identity practice. Practice thinking the thoughts of the happiest version of you. The happiest version of you, again, joy, content, fulfillment. What brings you joy? And I don't know the answer to that. I can't answer that for you, but that's where you have to start. That is where you have to start. It starts with who you believe yourself to be. Do you believe yourself to be somebody who is less powerful than money? Do you believe yourself to be somebody who has to do things that you hate in order to make it? Do you believe yourself to be somebody who is supposed to suffer and sacrifice in order to be successful? Because if that's who you believe yourself to be, that is always what the world will show you. That's why we start with identity first. You are the creator of your reality. Choosing that identity means that I get to create what I want. And so I'm the creator of the money. I think I talk about this so often with my clients, right? Like you are the creator of the money. You are just choosing to create that money through a pathway that you hate because you have a belief system that that's what you have to do. And like I said, the other parts of it is you're just dead in the water if you think that you need the money in order to be happy. So it starts with your identity. It starts with how you see yourself, the thoughts that you think about yourself. But here's where this is going to rub you. The identity practice is excellent. Regulating your nervous system and your identity practice is really good. But as I said earlier, many of you, I know I certainly did not, in a previous version of me, I had no idea who I was. Right? I talk a lot about identity, and I think sometimes that scrambles people's brains a little bit because they're like, I don't know what that means. Like, what do you mean by identity? Or I don't actually know who I am anymore. But the first thing you have to do is you have to start spending time with yourself and by yourself in order to get to know who you are and what you like and what you want and what's important to you. I share often on the show, I thought for so many years that if I could just make money, everything would finally work itself out. And after my first $1 million year, after making hundreds of thousands of dollars, after serving hundreds of clients, I still felt unhappy and unfulfilled and dissatisfied because I didn't like myself. I didn't know myself. I wasn't doing things that I enjoyed. I wasn't using the gifts that God had given me. I wasn't following my intuition. I was trying to fit myself in a box so that I could have money. So you have to come back to you. And this is the most frustrating advice on the planet for a high performer because it sounds fluffy. It sounds cliche. It sounds stupid. And it sounds like something that people who are not as busy as you should try. But I'm here to tell you that you are not immune to the laws of the universe just because you have a high-powered job or career or make a fuck ton of cash, right? You have a belief system that a fuck ton of cash comes at a price. The version of you who you are right now, you have an identity of somebody who thinks that making a lot of money comes at a really high cost. And you also believe that you need money to make you happy. How's that working out for you? So you can roll your eyes and you can be frustrated and this can feel oversimplified and you can dismiss it, or you can follow that feeling in your gut that tells you that I'm fucking right. And I don't say that to be right because I need to be right. I say that because you know in your heart that the reason why you are so dissatisfied anyway has to do with your disconnection to yourself, to your calling, to the gifts that you have, to the things that you want. You are sick and tired of putting everybody else before you. You are sick and tired of pretending that you enjoy whatever it is. The money didn't make you happy because you are not happy. The money didn't make you happy because your soul feels bored, disenchanted. Your human feels abandoned and doesn't trust you. And I know that doesn't feel good to hear, but I always say that awareness is the first step, right? Knowing what it is that's causing the drama. And the drama is the disconnection from you. You are, Bob Proctor says this all the time, it's one of my favorite, you are God's highest form of creation. You are an extension of source energy, right? And again, the Bible tells us this, New Age thinking tells us this, science tells us this. We are all made of the same stardust, right? I say that on the show all the time. You are connected to the power that creates worlds. You have access to that power and you are slaving away at a job you fucking hate for a made up system exchange program. That is why you are not happy, no matter how much money you make. And so the first thing you have to do is you have to take all your power back. You have to learn the skills of deliberately thinking on purpose and processing your emotion. You have to learn the skills of being able to look around and not just react to every single thing that happens, to choose how you want to respond, to choose who you want to be, to choose how you show up, because happiness is a choice. Because you choose your thoughts and you choose what you give your energy and your attention to. You choose what emotions you let run rampant through your body. If you let stress and anxiety and overwhelm run rampant in your body, it doesn't matter how much money you make, you will never be happy. It doesn't matter how comfortable you are. It doesn't matter how many conveniences you have, because that's not happiness. And so I say this is like a blessing and a curse. It's a blessing because you have all of the power to change it. And it is a curse because you feel powerless. And there's this crux in feeling powerless and knowing you have the power at the same time that is wildly uncomfortable. And that is the work that I do with my clients. Is how do I get my fucking life back? I don't want you to sacrifice the amount of money you make. I actually think that you probably can make more money than you think you're capable of when you get out of your fucking way and do it in a way that feels aligned to you. But if you would like to increase the amount of money in your life, or at the very least repair your relationship with money, do work that you love and actually enjoy your life, I would love to support you on that journey, because happiness is an inside job. But when you are disconnected from yourself, sometimes having support, having somebody to hold up the mirror, somebody to show you the way, somebody to shine the light, somebody who's walked the path can be a real fucking cheat code. Because just the fact that you are able to create enough resources to be in the top 3% of women tells me how fucking powerful you are. Now, I don't just want you to be well-resourced. I want you to be happy. I want you to love your life. I want you to feel alive. I want you to do work you enjoy. I want you to express yourself. I want your life to be fun and sexy and exciting. I want you to be in relationships you enjoy. I want you to be, I want you to feel good in your skin. I want you to wake up every single morning excited about your life. And that is not coming with a pile of money. See you next week. Thanks so much for tuning in to the Uncensored Self podcast. If this conversation cracked something open for you, trust that that's the work. And share this episode with a woman in your life who's ready to stop performing and start creating. And if you haven't already, hit subscribe, leave a review. It helps this message reach the women who need it most. Remember, you're the creator. The rules are yours. And your uncensored self, she already knows what to do. Keep leading, keep listening, keep becoming.